Good morning or good afternoon. It is Sunday, December 10th, 2017. We are the Bitter Knitters. My name is Jacqueline, and I'm here with Justin.
Hello, how's it going?
Good. I just want to send a quick shout out to my nephew whose birthday it is today. Happy birthday, Shale.
Happy birthday. What's today? Today's December 9th?
10.
10th. I don't even know what
10.
day of the week it is anymore. December 10th. Well, let's go ahead, Ty. It's been a couple weeks since we've done our little show. So
Yeah.
there's been a lot of news going on. So we'll talk about some news, and then we'll finally talk about Runaways and a couple other shows that have premiered recently. Because I feel like Runaways has now been on for like a month.
Yeah, there's like 40
pretty
episodes
accurate.
online.
40 episodes. But let's go ahead and talk about a few renewals. Netflix renewed a couple shows the last few days. These are actually renewals that we pretty much knew about already. I feel like Netflix is kind of weird in announcing when they've renewed shows. They're very calculated about it, because I feel like half the time they'll announce new seasons, it'll be like when they're already filming, or because I know they've already announced, well, they haven't announced a new season for Narcos, but when there was a location scout who got killed in Mexico a few months ago, it was like, oh, he was scouting locations for Narcos.
Yeah,
well,
so obviously there's a new season.
So obviously there's a new one. So we're getting season 3 of Stranger Things. No shock.
No.
The only thing about that is that there's a chance that we will not see it until 2019.
Join the 2019 club, Stranger Things.
Yeah. And apparently this week, Sophie Turner was in an interview, and she let it slip that it does look like Game of Thrones will be 2019, which we all knew.
It's still bullshit to me. You have a full freaking year. I don't care how much dragons you're drawing into the thing.
At this point, I feel like they're purposely just drawing it out and kind of building up the hype. Because I do think, no matter how big they say the season is going to be, I do think that they could have it ready by fall or winter of 2018. So at this point, I think they're drawing it out on purpose, which is kind of frustrating.
It better be freaking January of 2019 is all I have to say.
I hope so. That'd be like winter is here is the way they could. Yeah,
and they better not freaking, you know who, Little Rocket Man and fucking the Orange Turd better not blow up the earth before I see that final season.
I cannot promise that. Yeah. Let's just hope when like something happens, HBO will just rush it out as quickly as they can, so people can watch it before the world
release it for free. Yeah, as the rockets are coming, please.
It doesn't matter, HBO. If people watch it for free, you're not going to be around much longer. Neither will us. The other season announcement that they announced was Mindhunter, which I've seen several articles that even before season 1 premiered that they had picked it up for season 2. So
yeah, I kind of heard that as well. So I'm not surprised of the actual announcement.
Yeah, so I'm not official at all. And they've been starting to like be a lot closer to announcing. How am I trying to word this? When they're announcing new season premiere dates, I feel like they're not given as much breathing room as they have in the past. Because they've week,
so like they'll announce a new season and then like a 2 months later the show's airing, you mean?
Yeah, or even shorter than that now. So Black Mirror season 4 got a release date this week, which is December 29th.
Oh, I feel like
that's only a couple weeks away.
It came out in the spring, didn't it?
Earlier, yeah, I think earlier this year, so not too long ago. But I think that they were working on both sets of episodes at the same time. So there'll be 6 new episodes. They have released trailers for, I think, most of them. There's even reviews for them out there. But December 29th, and there's going to be a kind of like a Star Trek type spoof episode. So it sounds kind of like the Orville. I don't know.
Sounds good.
Yeah, so it should be good. And apparently the mother from How I Met Your Mother is guest starring in one of those episodes. I think it's that one too.
Oh, okay.
And Jodie Foster is directing one of them.
Oh.
So so
Black Mirror is really coming along, eh?
Yeah, so that's gonna be December 29th, and it'll be interesting to see if we get more episodes after that.
Am I wrong? Didn't that San Junipero episode win the Emmy too, or the Golden Globe? What did we have? Emmys?
I think it was up for an Emmy, and I don't remember if it won or not.
Okay, it should have. It was a good episode.
That's what I've heard. I need to go in and watch these. For some reason, I haven't watched a full single Black Mirror episode. So one of these days I will. What's nice about them is, for the most part, they're self-contained.
I don't think any of them have crossed over as far as I've seen. And I've watched
I was looking at reviews for one of the episodes this season. Apparently, they refer back to past episodes. I don't know if it's one of those things. Well, no. In the upcoming ones.
Oh, the upcoming season. Okay.
Yeah, in the upcoming, there's one episode that I think does call back to past episodes. Now, I'm sure you could watch it and enjoy it without knowing those. I'm not sure what the callbacks are. But apparently there was one in the review that I read. Okay. Continuing Netflix news, apparently there's been a lot of Netflix news the last few weeks, is that we are going to be getting season 6 of House of Cards, and they are going to go back and start filming again in 2018 without Kevin Spacey.
Not surprising.
Not surprising. I think that's the best way to do it. I think by shutting just it down completely and canceling it, it would have sucked for the other actors involved, for the crew, especially right before Christmas,
too, not
for
having
the fans.
Any resolution.
Yeah. So now I think it's gonna kind of be weird when it comes back, and they're gonna obviously off screen have to explain Kevin Spacey's absence. But I think
they should say he went to jail for pedophilia.
But once that's done, I think it'll be good, and it'll be a good way to wrap up. Robin Wright will be the one kind of heading it now, and I feel like she was always sometimes more interesting than Kevin Spacey's character anyway. And I almost feel like the show has been more about her than about him, just because it's kind of about her rise up through the ranks to power. And I believe when season 5 left off, she is actually the president of the United States.
Yeah, so I'm pretty sure I read that too.
The show's been more about her journey than anyone else's. So I think it'll be interesting. I think it'll be good. And again, I think it was good for them to do that for the actors, the crew, the fans. So
she's a strong actress. She can carry the show.
Oh, she can definitely carry the show. And so again, I think the most interesting thing at this point will be how they will explain his absence. But Kevin Spacey will be gone, and it seems like that's been a trend, because the last few weeks we've also seen Matt Lauer leave the Today Show. Do not miss him.
Nope.
I have that on every morning when I get ready for work, just because I need something brainless and mindless on. And it's weird. They haven't even put anybody in his space. They've just put Hoda full time with Savannah. Usually Hoda would come in 20, 30 minutes into the hour and then hang out with them. But now she's just been there the whole time. So they haven't even brought in Willie Geist or Carson Daly.
Yeah, I'm sure it'll be a while. They're going to have to vet somebody who's not a sexual harasser.
Yeah. Well, which might be hard.
Yeah, considering what's coming out of Hollywood and media and
considering the news, that might be kind of hard. A couple months ago, we talked about how the CW was looking at a Riverdale spinoff based on Sabrina.
Yes.
And it looks like that show is getting made, but it's not going to the CW. It is going to Netflix with a 2-season order. I heard that.
And they haven't done Sabrina yet, as far as I'd heard last.
I haven't heard that either. Yeah, it doesn't look like. And it looks like they are kind of doing almost like a colorblind casting, that we don't know that they're up to any sort of ethnicity.
Could be a little blonde girl. Could be.
No, not necessarily. Yeah. Yeah. They all don't need. Well, I'd rather not look like Melissa Joan Hart. So, and I do think that they're kind of getting a darker approach to the story than obviously the sitcom did.
Yeah.
Which was not dark at all. So yeah, so that'll go to Netflix, and Netflix already ordered that for 2 seasons. And apparently, I guess CW's slate was getting full, so they allowed them to go and go to Netflix for that. So that should be good. Speaking of shows,
you can go darker on Netflix, which is good.
Yes, I think that you can do a lot more on Netflix than you can do on the CW. Even though I feel like CW's kind of been pushing the boundaries. I'm mainly talking about Crazy Ex-Girlfriend this season. The suicide episode was rough. Where Rebecca tried to commit suicide.
That was so depressing. And the next episode really kind of got me too.
Yeah, and then this week they went completely different, and they had a whole musical number with Paula singing "The First Penis I Saw," And I feel
Yeah.
like that number went
I
kind of
want those two
far.
backing dancing ladies, the grocery store worker and the old lady, to always be on the show.
They were amazing. I love them.
Yeah.
I love the scene where they pick up their little like eggplants and zucchinis and
Yes, and they're singing into them. Yeah. Working
like
that zucchini.
Yeah, I was reading an interview with the actress who plays Paula, and she was like, "Yeah, we had standards and practices on the set. We had a lot more with the produce that they would not let us do."
I'm sure they wouldn't. I was a little shocked when I saw the produce come out. I'm like, whoa.
Yes, and in fact, in her interview, she's like, and I was watching it myself, and I'm surprised how much they allowed and kept in, including the produce that did make it in.
Yeah.
But it was really good. But I definitely feel like some of the networks, mostly cable networks, but like CW, they are trying to push the bounds a little bit, but still you can't do exactly what you can do on Netflix.
Exactly.
And again, it probably helps that we might be the only like 2 people watching CW.
It's true.
But especially Crazy X, but that's okay. Another show we talked about as a possibility a couple months ago was the Twilight Zone revival.
Right.
With Jordan Peele as one of the executive producers. It looks like that got ordered to series through CBS All Access.
Oh, okay.
So CBS All Access, I think, is trying to go all in. They've got Star Trek Discovery, which has been a hit for them. They got this Twilight Zone coming up. They also greenlit some dark fairy tale with Kevin Williamson from Scream and our favorite Kevin Bacon show that I can't remember the title to because it was so bad. The Following. And so it definitely seems like they're trying to beef up their slate a little bit, which makes sense because once Star Trek Discovery is over, when it's on hiatus, obviously they're going to want to keep their subscribers around.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it should be interesting. I know people... Get Out was fine. I feel like people are kind of overhyping it a bit. It was a good movie, so it'll be interesting to see what he can do with a Twilight Zone anthology type.
Yeah, I'm excited. I always love the Twilight Zones, and that's the sort of thing, like you can get a little standalone episode. You don't have to see every one of them, or if you find one boring, you can turn it off, and you don't.
Yeah, that's great things about shows like Twilight Zones or Black Mirror or Room 104 is that you don't have to commit to a whole series. If you don't necessarily like a boring silent ballerina episode, well, that's fine. Come back next week and see a whole completely different story.
Exactly.
So yeah, so I kind of like that. I do like long-term storylines, serialized stories, but it's also nice sometimes to just kind of dip your toes and enjoy just a short story.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of, go ahead.
Oh, can I just say this? Sometimes stories can't contain their momentum. You know what I mean? They can't continue it.
Yes.
So like when you're watching a 3-season show and you kind of get to season 2 or 3 and you're like, this, heroes, this sucks now. So at least with an anthology, it's a different kind of momentum.
Well, and then there's some people that can't even make it through an anthology season without all of a sudden going downhill. Looking at you, Ryan Murphy. When speaking of things that were supposed to be limited time, but is now coming back, did you hear what other shows coming back? Big Little Lies.
Oh, yes, I did hear that.
Yeah, it looks like Reese Witherspoon and Nicole Kidman are definitely on board. It looks like they're looking at the contracts of the other stars, hoping that they all get to come back, except obviously for Skarsgård. Sorry. And
he's not coming back? Oh, yeah, he died.
Yes.
But it's not going to be a continuation. I thought it was going to be a different episode, like different.
I don't know if they fully know yet. It looks like they have a list of season 2 characters, and they're still at that same.
Oh, okay. Because I was just hoping it was going to be like a Ryan Murphy thing where it'd be a different story.
Yeah, and listen to this. This is from a TV Line story that I guess they took from Vulture, which I'm taking from them. It says that there's new faces not to be cast yet. Includes a new Otter Bay teacher who infuriates Renata when his lessons about global warming upset Amabella. I'm in. I'm in. That's all you need to say.
Amabella's revenge.
That is all you need to say. Renata, Amabella. It sounds like I'm speaking a foreign language. Who cares? I'm there.
Well, you know what's good about that show? All the houses with their roaring, thunderous ocean some views.
Yeah, people called it house porn, which it pretty much was.
It really
It was
was.
beautiful. It was beautiful. And we got Renata and Amabella.
Well, maybe we'll get some flashbacks of what was her name, Celeste, Nicole Kidman's character with Alexander Skarsgård.
Yeah, it's possible. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, that'll come back again, probably 2019. I think I feel
yeah.
like 2018 at this point is kind of a bust. I think they're like, yeah, we don't want to put anything on 2018.
I know. What's going to be on TV next year?
Well, I do have one thing. I don't know if I
Okay.
knew NBC was doing this. You know how they always do their live musicals? We were actually supposed to
Yes.
have our Bye Bye Birdie live musical this month, but
Yes.
it got pushed back because Jennifer Lopez can't sing. For Easter, NBC is making a live Jesus Christ Superstar. Jesus Christ, I don't want this.
I've never seen it, to be honest.
No, me neither. But from what I've heard, like, it just does not sound very appealing to me.
Well, this has nothing to do with TV, but on our live page where we're streaming, the upcoming next episode for autoplay is Sunday Mass, second Sunday of Advent. So maybe we should be watching Jesus Christ Superstar. I don't know why the next thing coming up is a church program. Okay, so
man.
well, they canceled Bye Bye Birdie, but wasn't somebody else supposed to have something?
Well, you've got Rent on Fox.
Okay, yeah, I knew.
next
Yeah,
year.
Rent, and I thought something good was coming up.
Christmas Story is coming up on Fox this month.
Oh, okay, that's what I think.
Maya Rudolph is in that, and that'll be on Fox. And but they did announce a casting for Jesus Christ Superstar. King Herod, Herod, Herod. Herod is going to be played by Alice Cooper.
Oh,
yeah,
interesting.
Yeah. I thought that's kind of what caught my eye.
Justin knows his Bible very well.
That's
Book of Ruth is his favorite.
If you're gonna do Jesus Christ Superstar, which I don't want to see, at least you're gonna, as long as they cast it in an interesting way, casting that will make me kind of stop and read your story on Jesus Christ Superstar, and maybe, just maybe, I'll give it a look. I mean, I never watched, what was it, when they did The Wiz?
I watched part of The Wiz, and it was.
Well, I think it was on the same time as the Survivor finale. So obviously, I'm going to choose Survivor finale.
A lot of these came out flat, in my opinion. Like, I watched the Sound of Music, and I mean, the singing was all fine and good, but it was, there wasn't any chemistry between Kelly and Vampire Bill.
Carrie, yeah.
Carrie and Vampire Bill. So that was kind of flat. I didn't see the Hairspray one. I watched Grease live, which I actually was surprised that I liked.
Yeah, with old Danny. Yeah, yeah, Grease live was good. And I did enjoy Hairspray. I thought Hairspray was pretty good. Yeah. And Peter Pan.
Oh, I didn't watch because I hate that
disaster
story.
That was a mess. Yeah. But we'll see. Christmas Story, I don't know, is that one supposed to be live? I hope it's live, because when they did the pre-taped Rocky Horror, that wasn't there.
Oh, yeah, I watched some of the Rocky Horror. That wasn't good either. I think part of it is, when you're doing a live thing, it should be live.
Yeah.
Bringing, plays or musical theater to a lot of people who wouldn't have access to some of these shows, right?
Yeah, and I feel like when you do something live, there's an added spectacle to it.
Yeah.
Like, oh, what's going to go wrong type of thing.
Well, that's kind of why I was watching Grease. And the way Grease was set up was, I mean, they were going through sets and driving around and incorporating the crowd, and pretty different.
I think Grease
a lot of potential for a shit show. Yeah,
Grease did it in a really interesting way. And I think they kind of got screwed in. Wasn't it raining that day? So they weren't really able to...
to do as much outside as they wanted to.
Yeah. But it was interesting because you had audiences in different sets, and they had to get to specific places behind the scenes. They had to do golf carts, and
it's not a live show. It actually rained in LA, right?
Yeah, that's so insane. I just remember watching it towards the end when they were showing us on their golf carts. There's one that almost tipped over. I'm like, yes,
I remember that. They almost killed somebody.
Oh my God, that guy from The Wire in Suits, Wendell Pierce or something like that. I'm like, no, that was really scary for a split second. But I think they did it. They tried something different. It was kind of a cool way to incorporate the audience.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. And like I said, I went in there thinking I was going to hate it because a lot of the cast I wasn't that thrilled with. But I ended up really enjoying it. I'm impressed with them.
Yeah, I think it'll be interesting to see what they do with the further ones.
Yeah. I mean, I might tune in to watch Jesus Christ, but we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. You know what? Maybe I just have a bad taste in my mouth because whenever I think of it, it makes me think of Carly Smithson. Was that her name? From American Idol.
Oh, yes.
Oh, I did not like her at all. The tattooed Irish girl. Oh.
Don't judge a show or a song based on the person who sang it on Idol.
Well, the good thing is that was one for better performances, but she went home that week. So maybe I should look at it in a positive light. Oh, I did not like her.
Okay.
A couple more stories. We do have, it looks like some of the networks are going to compete directly head-on with the Olympics this year, including CBS, which will be airing the whole 30th season of 30th season of Amazing Race against it. And they'll actually start a little early on June 3rd, and then it'll go on
January 3rd.
January 3rd, and it'll go through January and February. And on February 7th, we will get the premiere of Celebrity Big Brother, which will be the first.
Have you heard any casting
I have heard nothing. I feel like
rumors, nothing.
I need to kind of go online and rumor sites to see if there are any spoilers out there for it.
Yeah, I should check. Maybe Jokers has something. I'll look. Yeah,
it's only going to be a 3-week series, so it's going to start the 7th and end February 28th, and even the 21st. Exciting. I think it's the 21st it ends because the 28th is the premiere of Survivor Ghost Island.
Oh, okay. Ghost Island. Ooh.
Yeah, from what I've heard, I don't think I'm going to enjoy this season, but we'll see. And so they're both going to be kind of shorter runs, but it's going to be 3 weeks of Survivor Big Brother. Julie Chen is back to host it. It's going to be on several nights throughout those 3 weeks, and some of them will be double episodes. Some of them will be single episodes. And as far as I know, no casting news. But if it's only a 3-week period, I feel like they could hopefully get people.
I've been saying this since day one of that announcement. Kathy Griffin.
Yes.
You want to revive your career? Here is your chance.
Or they could just put it all with controversial people. Put in Kathy Griffin, Kevin Spacey, Matt
Al Franken hasn't got much going on.
Franken.
Bryan Singer. Get all these Harvey Weinstein.
We need more women. I guess we got to get that.
Well, it'd be good if you had people that were I know they try to do this in the UK one, but so say Kathy Griffin has her number one enemy, Andy Cohen. I know Andy Cohen would never do it, but that sort of casting would be amazing.
Oh yes, yeah. So get Matt Lauer and Ann Curry together.
Yes. Now you're talking.
That sounds amazing. That Ann Curry was doing the happy dance that day.
Oh, I'm sure.
And then that's good. I like that to kind of get rivals.
But I love the Olympics too. The Winter Olympics I really love, so I'm excited for that. I'll be watching that all day long. Although it's in Korea, I don't know how many hours. Yes. How many hours ahead they are? I might be watching all pre-taped stuff.
Yeah, I know NBC hasn't NBC said they're going to try to air as much live as possible.
Are they going to do it differently? Because they usually just do primetime Olympics, right?
Yeah, well, they air stuff during the day too.
Okay. See, in Canada, we have 4 different channels playing stuff. So
and then we'll get all the NBC, all the NBC owned channels like USA, sometimes MSNBC, CNBC. They'll all show something of some sort of recording. But now that I'm thinking about if they're airing 8 o'clock at night, well, I guess it'd still be kind of early in the morning. I'm just trying to figure out the time wise that might work out. Live.
It's got to be at least 9-10 hours ahead of us.
Yeah, but it wouldn't be the big stuff. So it'll be interesting because that was
all the skiing and shit will be all we won't see that stuff. Yeah. But they like to show the skating. The skating is the crown jewel in the thing.
So I'm sure that they like to save that for the primetime hours, the big things. They'll
try, but
So it'll
I guess
be
we'll see.
And I don't know. I just don't know if I'm into it without Russia participating. I'm just joking.
I just hope Johnny Weir's back with his fancy outfits.
Yes. And I guess he can bring Tara Lipinski along, whatever. But
they're a good couple together.
They're a lot of fun. I do like them. I never really liked each of them apart. but put them together, and it works.
Yeah.
And it works. I think we should hopefully see that. Was it John? I feel like Johnny. I don't know. When I was at my mom's a couple of weeks ago, she had figure skating on, and I feel like he was one.
Oh, okay.
But people kept
Worlds or whatever, yeah.
people kept like hurting their elbows, and they all had their shoulders, and they had to all go to the hospital. It was kind of too much.
Oh, jeez. They're trying to do like, instead of doing like a triple Saukow, they're trying to do like a septuplet Saukow or something.
Yeah, it's like maybe you shouldn't even try that hard, or maybe you should start doping. Just joking. You know, I do need to watch that Icarus movie, which is about doping, so that should be interesting. It's on Netflix.
Oh, is it? I didn't know what that was about.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Apparently, it's about sports doping. I think involving a lot with like the bicyclists, but I think it might be in general too. A couple short stories before we talk. We haven't been off for a couple weeks, so we've got a lot of stories. The Roseanne revival is coming in 2018. I guess everybody's moving to 2019 because they're scared of Roseanne.
Maybe.
That's exactly it. And they are bringing back a lot of the old actors and actresses. Johnny Galecki is coming back for an episode as David, which I think it would be kind of weird to have him gone. So I'm glad they were able to work out his schedule so he'll come in. We also
maybe he's a scientist working on some, far-flung place.
Yeah, it could work. But at least if he was gone the whole time, it would be kind of weird.
Yeah,
Sandra Bernhard is returning also.
Is Tom Arnold?
I haven't seen anything about Tom Arnold yet. So hopefully, and then Roseanne.
They kind of are in a better place now between her and Tom, though. Like, I don't think they'll be best friends, but I could see her bringing him on.
Like a working, yeah, I think it would be kind of nice because he for a while was a pretty big part of that show.
Yeah, he was.
I never thought he was a very good part of that show, but he was a big part of that show.
He was.
And then as the show went on, they brought a lot more of Roseanne's mom as the series went on. So Estelle Parsons, who's 90, is coming back for I assume just an episode. But good for her and good for them for bringing her back. It was, I believe, it was originally set for 8 episodes, and then I saw an article saying we're extending Roseanne, and it was like by 1 episode.
Woo!
So it'll be interesting. I don't know if the revivals are quite going. As
I also saw they're having both Beckys will be on the show somehow.
Yeah, I think the original Becky is playing Becky, and I think second Becky is playing a different character, which I think may have been announced, or maybe they're keeping a secret. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
But they are incorporating both Beckys.
That's kind of nice for her, even though I hate the second Becky. Nice for her to have a job.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, second Becky, I will always remember as Stella.
Yes.
Stella. How I Met Your Mother. I don't know why it all comes back to How I Met Your Mother, but it does. And one last quick story is it looks like CBS is pretty much canceling Wisdom of the Crowd. This is that Jeremy Piven show. Wah, wah. He could be in Big Brother House too. Well,
I mean, I was not surprised over all the sexual harassment assault stories of Jeremy Piven. I kind of thought he was a creeper for a long time.
Yeah, I feel kind of a trend with a lot of these stories. A lot of these stories, people are like, yeah, well, we knew for a long time that this was the way he was.
Yeah.
So it's kind of sad that it took this long for all these stories to come out, but it finally is. This is like the crowdsourcing crime show. I watched the first episode. It was really bad. They're not picking up any more episodes beyond the original 13, so people are assuming it's a pretty much canceled.
So it's kind of like a small mercy for the network, too, so they can get rid of it.
Yeah, and they can do it in a way that's kind of not controversial. It's just like we're not picking up more episodes. It didn't quite perform the way we want it to, is the way they spin it. So that's good. So those are our news. Lots of news today. So let's go ahead and talk about a couple shows that have premiered the last few weeks that we have missed. The first one is a show that Hulu premiered back in November, and it's called Runaways, or Marvel's Runaways.
I never heard you talk about this show before. What's this about?
I know. What is this weird show? It just seemed to come out of nowhere. So
we've been talking about it for 6 months.
A long time. Well, this has been in development for a long time too. At one point, like out of nowhere, like a casting call for the series came out. Actually, it may have been a movie at one point, and this was years and years ago. At this point, and they kind of disappeared and kind of brushed under the rug. And then last year, Hulu kind of brought it back, and here we are. And it's based on a 2003 Marvel comic series. Never a huge series, but it was always kind of one that was well liked and very critically reviewed. It's about and there are definitely some differences between the series and the comic, but you always get that.
Yeah, of course. You can't just do a straight 100%.
Yeah. So you get a group of teenagers, and their parents are up to something, and we got the idea that they've been friends for a while, but they've kind of have all drifted apart.
Yeah,
after
high school kind of made them.
High school, the death of Nico's sister,
Yeah.
and definitely high school though. They've all kind of gone their own separate ways. Chase has become a jock, and Nico's, I think, dealing with the grief of her sister. Alex has kind of a video game loner, and then they get together one night while their parents get together as they do every single year, and they see what they think is their parents murdering a girl. And so now what happens after that is all them trying to come to terms with that. First, they're kind of in denial. They're trying to see if we're trying to find the girl. They've been told that she's on a mission trip and all this fun stuff. And so it's about them I think this season's mainly going to be about them getting together, and then eventually maybe they'll get to the actually running away part.
Yeah. Oh, I didn't know they ran away. I thought it was about because they were using runaways as their sacrifices, the parents.
Oh, well, maybe in the show, maybe
that's why I thought it was called Runaways.
But in the comics, it happens a lot sooner. But the kids kind of are like, "Wow, our parents are murderers." They're actually technically supervillains. So they kind of run away, and they get away from their parents and kind of are off on the road living on their own. And that's kind of
okay, because the show kind of makes them, I don't know what the comic, I haven't read the comic obviously, but I mean, to some degree the show makes a lot of them, the parents, kind of, you can empathize with them to some degree, you know, like a lot of them don't seem evil.
That's the interesting thing between the comics and the TV show. In the comics, they're all pretty much straight out supervillains, and they're the bad guys, and they are supervillains. Here, you don't necessarily, they're not necessarily supervillains, but they're killing at least one person a year to do something, which we find a little bit about in the last episode. But you're right. There a lot more time is given to fleshing out the parents in the TV show than again the comics, to almost feel like sometimes that you're almost on the parent side more than on the kid's side.
Yeah, you got I don't remember her name, the blue-haired girl. Her parents, or her purple-haired girl, sorry. Gert. Her parents, like, they want to run away. They don't want to be involved in this. They don't want to do it anymore. They're not happy they do it. They just do it because, you know, they've committed to it, right?
Oh, and they created a dinosaur that has a mental link with their daughter.
Yeah, that's weird. That's weird. You know, and even like James Marsden's character, Chase's dad, he, you know, I mean, I know he's mean to him and stuff over the years, but I think we're seeing he has some sort of mental illness too.
Yes, it looks like he's seeing things that aren't necessarily there.
Yeah, so there's kind of like I feel a little sorry for some of these people. Even like the black parents, they're not completely evil.
No, no. And I feel like I feel bad for Carolina's dad, who obviously was some teen star, and at this point
he's not involved in the sacrifices or whatever they're doing.
And meanwhile, his wife is getting it on with some weird some weird thing.
I don't know if he's from the future, he's an alien, he's a demon. I don't know what's going on with him.
I hope they explain more about it. I mean, I have based on, again, that's different, a lot different from the comics, but I still have a guess based on my knowledge of that, and it is one of those things. It's interesting because I feel like they've messed with his mind, and he's kind of the father, Carolina's father, if that even though we almost think that might not be her father.
That's what I was thinking. But I'm thinking he's kind of a patsy.
Yeah. I think that, you know what, when the show began, I wasn't really feeling the parent stories, but I feel like as it's gone on, I feel like they've done a good job of making their stories a little more interesting.
Yeah, and isn't it Chase's mother's having the affair with
Nico's dad. Yes, and I think that's kind of interesting. Nico's parents have this like little staff. It's a magical staff. And I know, I'm not quite sure how this works in the show. I guess I haven't paid that close attention, but in the comics, it'll work when she puts pain to herself. She has to like hurt herself for the staff to either for her to be able to use the staff, and then she can only use one spell like ever. So she's like, "Oh, I need you to freeze time." That's the only time she could ever use that spell with that staff.
Oh, so you can never repeat the
so
same.
You can never
thing.
repeat the same thing. And this was in the comics, which I think is kind of a neat little thing. And then in the comics,
it kind of makes tell the story differently, right? You
yes.
can't always just be like, "Oh, Nico froze time, save the day."
Yeah, you can't, and that gets lazy. Be like, "Oh, we'll just do this to save us every single time." It causes the character, the writer, everyone to be a little more creative, which is, I think, a good thing. Molly's another big change in the show versus the comics, because in the comics, she's a little younger, and she's actually a mutant, which she still can be in this, and I think she might be. I just
kind of
don't
mutanish.
know if they can use the word mutant. Because
they probably can't.
They probably can't, so they probably won't. But again, at the same time, because in X-Men universe, being a mutant usually comes when puberty first hits.
Right.
And so we're kind of seeing that. Again, I'm seeing this where she's getting her powers right around the same time she's dealing with her first period. So I feel like it's definitely a mutant. I just don't think they can say that.
No, they probably never will say the word mutant.
No. And her parents are alive in the comics, and so it's another set of parents. I bet they did that just because that's just too many characters. It's a lot of characters.
Yeah, it'd be a lot of characters.
As is. So, I mean, it just makes sense for her to kind of be adopted and living with Gert's
family. And they can force some, like if we find out in the future that the other parents caused her death, then, that's also a foil in the story that we can use to move it along type of thing.
Yeah. So that's another, exactly. So it's interesting. I think we're halfway. I think this was episode 5 this week. So I think we're halfway through the first season. We're definitely getting a little more background. We've now learned what the weird comatose crusty guy, a little bit about him.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see what they do with the remaining 5.
I'm gonna assume the final episode, since you told me that they're the runaways, that's when they run away.
Yes. And there's a few things a couple of huge storylines that I'm looking for in the show that hasn't been touched upon yet. And I'm wondering if season 2 will kind of touch upon that, where they will end up kind of running away. And then when they run away, slight spoiler, but just as kind of like a preview of what might be coming up, is they find out that one of their own is communicating with the parents and is acting as a mole. And so for a big portion of the comics, that turns into kind of the big mystery of who is the person.
Which one of them is the mole?
Them. Ooh. And so now how I've been watching the show is I've been watching every single character closely, especially the character who's the mole, to see thinking if they have molish tendencies, if it's somebody else. I'm really curious to see if they use that storyline, which I think they would for season 2, and B, if they're going to make it the same character or make it somebody else.
I'll have to take a guess. I don't know.
You want to guess right now?
I'll guess right now. Don't tell me if I'm right, because we don't want to spoil it. You can tell me after the call if I'm right. But my guess is...
You want me to go through all the characters again?
No, I know. I'll just say, if I don't know their name, I'll just describe them. My guess is it's going to be the blonde girl. The
Carolina?
The girl. Yeah, Carolina.
Okay.
Just because I think maybe she doesn't know she's the mole.
Okay. Something with like her bracelet and when she's all
and maybe I think that old guy might be her father, and maybe there's like a telepathic link she's not aware of. That's my guess.
Oh, so she's like an unwilling mole.
Yes.
Interesting. I won't say anything right now. I'll let you know later.
And if it's not that, then it's gonna be Chase, because he's so beat up. He's like a beaten puppy that will always want his father's attention.
Okay.
There's my other guess. There we go.
I like that. I think they're doing a good job with Chase. He was one of the few actors I've seen before.
Yeah.
But I kind of like that and his relationship with Spike, with his father. Sorry.
Yeah, Spike.
But I really think I do like that Hulu will throw out 3 episodes at once and then do a weekly thing, because I feel like if I just had the first episode, I'd be like, I don't know. But by the end of the third one,
mind the first episode, it was okay. Second episode, I didn't really enjoy that much, but
No.
I'm like, I'll stick with it. But the third episode was good, and each episode does get better.
Yeah, the fourth and fifth have been good too.
Mhm.
And I think, this last week's? Yeah, this last week's episode that dealt with Alex being kidnapped
Yes,
by people that his father used to be associated with,
gang members.
the
Yeah,
gang members, and the one young black kid that was part of it. He ended up being their sacrifice for the prize.
yeah.
And they're all like, so where's this kid? Where is
Alex
he?
has to deal with that, knowing specifically his father
Yeah.
directly, chose and had someone killed. It's one thing if you're just standing around and somebody's there, and
And that's one that I've liked
Yeah.
what they've done when they've used flashbacks with that. I think that's been interesting because we've seen his father in jail, and his mom was the attorney for him, and
that's how they fell in love.
yeah, so that's been kind of cool. It's kind of seeing that it's added a lot more layers that you didn't necessarily get in the comics. So I'm definitely interested in seeing where they go. We got 5 more episodes left. I'm hoping we get a second season because I'm enjoying this so far.
Me too. I think they'll get one.
I do too. I mean, Hulu will usually at least pick up their shows for a second season. And I think
It's hard to know what the viewership is, right? Because they don't release those
it's so
numbers.
hard to know what those viewerships are. But I think it's gotten quite a bit of buzz. It's gotten a lot of critical acclaim.
My problem is I haven't seen anybody watching it. Like nobody on my Facebook, nobody in real life is saying Runaways. We need to,
Yeah, no, that's true. I haven't heard a lot of outside. And I did hear a little bit for A Handmaid's Tale, but most Hulu, beyond Handmaid's Tale, most Hulu originals, you don't hear a lot of people talking about.
Yeah.
Like you had that show with House.
So maybe their expectations too, right? Like if say a Netflix show is supposed to have like 10 million viewers, right?
Yeah.
Maybe Hulu's okay with only getting like 3 million.
Yeah, and I hope people are watching this, and they've been pushing. Whenever you load the app, they are pushing it. So I'm hoping that people are watching it. What's interesting is if this Fox Disney deal goes through, Disney will now have Fox's 30% ownership of Hulu. So I wonder what that means for Runaways that way too. So that whole story is very interesting to me. And then will they use Hulu to help launch their streaming, or they can do their own streaming? There's just so much to think about with that.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of now potential for crossover and everything.
Yes. Yeah, so that'll be interesting. And then they might be able to say the word mutant. Mutant. So that's Runaways. I recommend it. Another Hulu show. Did you get to watch an episode of Future Man?
I watched 1.5.
1.5. So
the show had to start, so I stopped.
Oh, okay, perfect. So Future Man is another show on Hulu right now, and I feel like Hulu's trying some interesting things, which is good for them, seeing what works. It's produced by Seth Rogen as one of the producers, but he is not a star of the show. The star is our favorite stone-faced camouflage guy, Josh Hutcherson. And so when the show starts out, we see him as kind of like a badass fighter going on, and we find out that he's just playing a video game. And he's kind of a loser. He's a janitor at
a janitor's a good honest job. I have no problem.
It's a good honest job, but in general, not just him being a janitor, but in general, he's just a schlubby everyman.
Yeah, he's just a normal guy, lives with his parents,
he's just a schlubby. I mean, it's not like he's got
he doesn't got a ton of girls. He doesn't got a ton of friends. He's not going out partying every night.
So I'm not associating his janitorness as him being a loser. He's just kind of a normal everyday loser guy.
Yeah.
And Haley Joel Osment is working at where he is.
Oh yeah.
I have a hard time looking at Haley Joel Osment.
I stare at him and I just think of that little face that says "I see dead people."
Me too. And I'm like
heavily bearded man now.
I see fat hairy people. And Ed Begley Jr. is his dad.
And Glenn Headey.
And she was actually passed away. She was actually in the middle of filming the series when she passed away. Yeah. So it'll be interesting to see kind of how they deal with what will be her disappearance.
And there was Ron Fuchs was in there. Is that how you say his name?
Yeah. Ron Fuchs. Interesting cast. Keith David is Dr. Elias. He has been in lots of things.
And
Eliza.
even that skinny guy that was at the video game store, he's one of those guys you see in a ton of shows. I don't know his name.
Yeah, it's crazy that they get a lot of guest stars in this.
Yeah.
And so he's just a schlubby everyday guy, and he's a janitor, so obviously, and it's where they're doing like work on trying to cure
science
herpes.
Research lab.
Science research trying to cure herpes.
Because the head guy has a giant, disgusting herpes on his lip.
Oh, it's so gross. And then one night, Josh Hutcherson's character, named Josh, I love when people play characters named after themselves. He beats the game that he's playing, and then a few minutes later, these two characters come and they're like, "Hey, they're
not the only ones who came."
Oh yes, he's I love that scene. He's masturbating to this character, and they appear in front of him, and he blows his load. And
the
guy named Wolf. And Tiger is the other character played by Eliza Coupe from Happy Endings. Kind of weird to see her in like a badass role. It's weird because
she played a tough bitch character in something I just watched recently. I can't remember.
Quantico.
Oh, it was Quantico. Yes.
Quantico.
She was tough in that.
She was still weird watching her all futuristic, and so they come from a future world, and they're like, "You're our savior. We use this video game as like a recruitment, and so you're our person, and you need to save the future." And so apparently, it all goes back to the herpes vaccine is zombie created, and it creates apparently what are supposed to be like kind of mindless zombie creatures.
Bio things they call them or something?
Yeah. And so then
Bionics.
Because
his cure for herpes cures all disease. And that made anybody who got the cure become bionics.
In a way that I guess that ruined the future society, because they come from kind of a grim and awful society.
Terminator land, except
lower budget.
I liked when he said the Wolf character said, if you ever ate the ass of a rat, then you can say ew. I thought that was funny.
Yeah, and then so the rest of the episode, they decided that they need to stop the night that Dr. Elias got his herpes, which was at a Halloween party.
The moon landing party.
Moon landing party, right.
Yeah.
So they travel back to 1969. And I feel like we get a lot of like Back to the Future-ish type scenes, because he's in his family house, and they all get scared about this guy.
Terminated. Give us your clothes, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it was fun. I didn't get to see the whole episode yet, but what up to the part I saw was so good. Yeah, I'm enjoying it.
Where does
Josh Hutcherson is not a good actor, by the way.
No, he's not. He's almost charming in his role.
There's a little bit of it, yeah.
What was the last
thing? We're going to do blackface. The last thing I saw was the bikers had just shown up at the front house.
Okay. Did you see? So you saw Josh Hutcherson in the astronaut outfit?
Yes. Yes, with the Bill Cosby joke about the Spanish fly. And...
Yes. I see stuff like that makes me laugh. Using like, I like you're right. The joke when they're talking about they got kicked out of the party, which was a black fraternity party, and so they try to get back in, and they're like, we can just make our faces dark, we can call it blackface, and Josh Hutcherson's like, no.
No. It's interesting so far. I'll keep watching.
So it's one of those things, like I said, very Back to the Future, where then eventually they'll make it back to present time, and obviously some things have changed. And
yes,
the only thing is
they've killed people.
Yes.
And they've injured people. So I mean, the butterfly effect is way out of whack at this point.
Yeah, and there's definitely some, from what I've seen, from when what I've watched. I think I watched 4 episodes. Okay. That you do see some things have changed when he does eventually return. I think it's kind of fun. It's not gonna win like tons of awards, but it's a fun little show, and definitely a homage to a lot of those like 80s action comedy time traveling movies. The only thing is apparently it's 13 episodes, and from what I've seen, I'm like, I hope this doesn't go on and on and on and on and outstay its welcome. But they aren't long. They aren't long episodes.
They're only half-hour episodes.
Yeah, so that's got it working for them. So I guess it's only like 6.5 hour long.
The other thing I thought was funny, and I'm sure most people picked it, when the wolf and what's her name again? Tiger were fighting the first bikers they encountered. They were like throwing in all like the video game little sound bites that they would have done, like leg kick.
Right? Oh, I think I missed that.
Kill them. Right? They're like doing those things, and I just like it's such a video game.
Yeah, it's fun. It's a little different. Again, it's not one I've been hearing a lot about.
And it has some crude humor, which you would never get on a ABC or CBC. Or CBC.
Yeah.
Oh, CBC. You would.
Yeah, that works.
No, you would get that on CBC.
Oh, you get that?
Canadian TV is very different from.
Even though that's true. I don't really want to think about Josh Hutcherson masturbating, but that's fine.
Oh, that was such a weird, awkward scene. I did not want to see.
But yeah, it's been an interesting show so far, and we'll see where it goes because I do want to. I feel like there's just so much to watch in so little time.
It really is true. And like, even though we're kind of coming into the dead zone of TV, there's still so much shows that I have to watch. I'm still behind on.
Yeah, me too. I'm behind on tons of shows.
I'm trying to.
And
yeah, it's crazy.
And then the networks are rolling out their holiday shows this week. Great American Bake Off, Christmas Light Fight, all that type of
Christmas
stuff. Christmas Prince and A Christmas Prince or something. There's 2 Christmas Prince movies going on. Gotta watch them all. Gotta watch every single Hallmark movie going on this Christmas. But
anything else? Are we gonna talk about Dark or?
Yeah, let's talk about Dark. Is the last thing we talk about.
Okay.
So this week, I believe it was this week, Netflix introduced a new show called Dark. And what I think is this is going to be, we've seen this trend a little bit with Netflix. I think we're going to see it a whole lot more. Netflix is in a weird situation that other networks are not, which is that they are an international brand. And so they kind of need to order and create their own international shows. So this is a show that was produced in Germany. And obviously around the world, people will speak different languages. So this was a show that when filmed was obviously in German. And so when they brought it here to English-speaking countries, they have overdubbed it. So it's an overdubbed show. I'm hoping that I can find subtitle version because I'd much rather. I felt the overdubbing was a little distracting.
It can be at times. Yeah, I'm the same way. I very rarely will watch a dubbed movie or TV show. I don't know.
Yeah, so this is a show that is dark. I don't think there were any lights in the show at all. It was a very dark show.
Even when they're at home, it's dark.
There was one kind of like thing that was kind of lit up, and we'll get to that in a little bit. It was probably done on purpose, but it was just so different from anything else going on. So there's a bunch of people in this German town, and we open up to this guy who commits suicide. And he leaves a note saying, do not open until a specific day after like 10:13 p.m. or something like that.
Yeah.
So then we get long credits of an Enya type sounding song, which was weird. And what was weird about the credits is that they didn't have any of the actors. It was all like behind the scenes stuff. It was like, I'm going to be skipping that every time I watch it.
Yeah, I definitely skip intro.
And I feel like Netflix intros are like 5 minutes long sometimes.
That's what I felt about the Mindhunter intro. Very long.
Yes. And the Runaways one, which is Hulu, is kind of long too. It's like, they spend their time on their intros. They could at least make catchy songs if they're going to have 5-minute long intros.
Just keep using Thank You for Being a Friend.
Yes, I'd be okay with that. Or the Paula song from this week. That could be a theme song.
Oh, yes.
On Crazy X. So we then meet a couple different families. The first family we meet is the family of the guy who killed himself at the beginning of the episode. We meet his teenage son, and we meet his wife, who is having sex with the sheriff, some detective guy in town.
Some sort of cop. Ulrich. I know his name. I don't know many names. Ulrich, I know.
And so we meet this family, but then we find out that he's actually married and has his own family. And we meet his wife, who is she the principal of the school?
I think so.
Yeah, she taught. It's German, so we don't know what's going on. Even though it's subtitled, it's dubbed, we still don't know what's going on.
Yeah, well, and like things are different. They're not like deputy or sheriff. They have whatever other names they use, and It's weird.
And then were there 3 kids? There was a teenage boy. There was a girl. Was she a teen too? And then there was the youngest boy.
Yes.
And so we meet that family, and then they go to school. And apparently, I don't know if it was the first day of school or the first day from a break.
The first day of him coming back.
But it was the first day of the son of the guy who killed himself coming back to school.
Yeah.
So he meets his best friend, and we learn that there's another kid named Eric who has been gone for 2 weeks, who's disappeared. Now, apparently he's run away a few times in the past, but as his parents said...
He's involved in drug dealing and stuff.
Yeah, so that's a good point, because that comes back to later. And he would always be gone, but he'd always be back in 2 days. And now it's been 2 weeks, and they don't know anything. So, Philippe, is that the... No, I don't know. I'm trying to remember names. I do not know. So the son and his friend comes up with the plan to go get some of the drugs that Eric had kept in this cave.
Yeah.
And so they decide to go out at nighttime with the 2 friends, the friend's new girlfriend who had something in the past with the main kid.
Yeah, there was some sort of a relationship, whether it was just a crush or they were at the beginning stages, but she's moved on to the friend.
And while he was gone, she moved on to the friend, and he had no idea. He's like, what's going on? Well, whatever the equivalent German phrase is. And then they go in with the cop's son and the youngest son too. He was stuck coming along.
They had no one to babysit him. He couldn't stay home alone, so they had to bring him.
And meanwhile, all the parents are meeting about the missing thing.
Eric missing.
And we get hints going on that something in the cop's past, something similar happened where his little brother either got killed or went missing. So we know that there was something that had happened many years ago.
30 years ago type of thing. Yeah.
So they come across the cave at nighttime. It's raining. It's bad. Like all hell kind of breaks loose, right? I don't know what was going
weird
on.
Noise came from the cave.
And there were bats, and there were like bleeding zombie man. Was that supposed to be the guy's dad? Or was it just a bleeding zombie man?
I don't know.
And meanwhile, intercut at the same time, the suicide man's mom with this weird mole on her face is reading the letter that she can finally open up, and I don't know what it said because it was in German.
And it didn't subtitle, and it didn't at least they could have at least had his voice or her reading the letter out so we know what the note said.
I have no idea what the letter said. And so all this chaos happens at the cave, and they all come together, and they realize that Mikkel, the young son, the younger brother, is missing, and they can't find him. So they all shout out his name. I thought they were yelling Pickle because I didn't know whose name was what, and they couldn't find him. They get the parents involved, and they get the cops involved, and they find the body laying in the leaves. So the cop goes, thinking it's his son. He undoes the leaves. It looks like this kid is wearing like old clothing too. Older clothing. His eyes are burnt out and missing, and he's got a Walkman with a cassette tape in it. And he goes to the detective lady and was like, "This isn't my son. It's not Mikkel." And and meanwhile, at the end of the episode, and there was one part in the middle of the episode too, we go to this weird bright room with super weird wallpaper, and they always focus on a TV showing 80s music videos.
Yes, they had like Nina singing some song I'd never heard. Or was it 99 Red Balloons or Love Balloons?
And then there was a song I actually knew. What was the song I knew? I don't remember. But there was
I can't remember, but they played a song I knew as well.
And so the first time we go in that room, we see Eric, the missing kid, kind of laying on a bed. And the second time he's in a chair, and we see a hooded figure who we don't know who it is, hooking him up in like the chair, and then these eyes. I wonder if those are like the eye burning things or something.
That's what I thought.
So
they burn out your eyeballs somehow.
So Eric is in some sort of room. I don't know if this room is in the current day or if it's in the past, or there's so many questions. Is
it in the cave? Is it in the nuke plant? Is it in somebody's basement? Is it in the forest? We don't know where this room is.
Yeah, it's interesting. The show,
and not just that. You'll see as the show goes on, everybody in the show is wearing that big giant hooded winter coat. So you don't know. You're like, oh, he's wearing the coat. It's him. But then you see somebody else wearing it, and you're like, oh, it's her.
And someone else is wearing the coat.
Yeah, I saw like 4 people wearing the same coat, so I don't know who the hell the killer is.
So it's kind of a weird show, and I know sometimes when we get like international shows, they have different sensibilities than we do, and I'm kind of I was interested in it.
I'm definitely invested in it. I don't know who
Yeah.
people are. I was saying this to Justin before the show started. We're gonna go over it just a little bit long, but they do an episode that takes place in the 80s, and you have the younger versions of a lot of the people on the show, and I had no idea who they were. I couldn't figure out. I mean, I finally got Ulrich, but I don't know who the girls are. I don't know who the other guys are. And there's you want to talk about sheriffs? There's this old timey cop who's like the head of the cops, and he is hysterical. He's all old and fat. He's trying to run back to his car, and oh my god, I'm like, this is your policeman.
He's the murderer. No.
No, he can't run. It would not be him.
But it's definitely, it's kept my interest. The one episode, there's 10 episodes in the first season.
Yeah.
And it'll be interesting to see where it goes from there.
Yeah, I'm definitely, that's why I'm going to try to catch up and finish that, so then I can then move on to The Crown that just came back.
Have you watched any of that new season yet?
No, because I want to get this one out of the way.
And you just finished episode 4?
I think I'm on 4 or 5. I can't remember.
Okay. So you're about halfway through.
Yeah, I'm close.
That should be
I'll probably finish it today and tomorrow.
Sounds good.
Anyway. Have a good week. We'll see you next week, I think.
We should be. I plan on it.
Yeah, me too. I don't think I'm not going to be here.
Yeah, 17th. And then Christmas and New Year's will be kind of weird. But I will definitely be here. And I'm wondering, I'm just throwing this out to you, this is the first you heard about this, we might have our own individual top TV shows of the year lists.
Yes! I'll start working on that. That's going to be hard for me to narrow that
down. It's going to be hard. But we'll do it. And we'll announce our lists next year, or next week. And we might even have our couple worst shows, too.
Yes. Yes. And we could do, maybe like a dead reel. You know how they do that on the Talking Dead? They have their dead reel.
Yes.
We have our shows that got canceled.
Oh, I thought we were talking about characters like Anushka.
or characters. We could do that. I'm talking about Zoo, our beloved Zoo.
Way to end this on a downer. You're like an inconvenient sequel.
So, listen to us next week. And we, I don't know when I'll be back with Arthur and Ryan. Who knows? That's up in the air because they're, Arthur's in Germany. So who knows?
Oh my God. Is he filming season 2 of The Dark?
He might be. Maybe he'll give us a little spoiler insider. So have a good week, and we'll see you when we see you.
Goodbye.
Take care. Let me hang up here.